Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Adjustments. And could you please shut off your devices? Thank you. Can we have the call to order, please, and roll?
Chairman Elliott, Mr. Hrabowski, Mr. Burris,
Yes.
Mr. Eisner,
Here.
Mr. Turner.
Present.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Turner. Ms. Rich,
Present.
Mr. Bolton.
Here. May I have the announcement, please, and the swearing in of speakers?
Yes. This is a quasi-judicial proceeding where the Board of Adjustment acts in a quasi-judicial rather than a legislative capacity. At a quasi-judicial hearing, it is not the board's function to make law, but rather to apply law that has already been established. In a quasi-judicial hearing, the board is required by law to make findings of fact based upon the evidence presented at the hearing and apply those findings of fact to previously established criteria contained in the Code of Ordinances in order to make a legal decision regarding the application before it. The board may only consider evidence at this hearing that the law considers competent, substantial, and relevant to the issues. If the competent, substantial, and relevant evidence at the hearing demonstrates that the applicant has met the criteria established in the Code of Ordinance, then the board is required by law to find in favor of the applicant. By the same token, if the competent, substantial, and relevant evidence at the hearing demonstrates that the applicant has failed to meet the criteria established in the Code of Ordinance, then the board is required by law to find against the applicant. Are there any members of the board this evening wishing to disclose any ex parte communications or conflicts of interest? Seeing none. Anyone wishing to speak this evening, if you could please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
So sworn.
Thank you. Application number 19-148. Could you please read the particulars?
Yes, this is the application of Sarah E. McSorley. Agent is Cindy Terrapini. Previous agent was Dan Larson, so this may have been noticed as a Larson application. He had indicated he was the applicant. This application is, the applicants are requesting a variance to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 25 feet to 23 feet, a 2-foot variance, and to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 25 feet to 22 feet, a 3-foot variance for the construction of a single-family residence on a vacant lot. The parcel is located at 906 West Bayshore Drive. It is, however, vacant. It is zoned R100A. The setbacks for that district are in your packet. Note that the front setback is required to be 25 feet. The applicants are requesting 23 feet. The rear yard setback also are required to be 25 feet. The applicants are requesting 22 feet in the rear. The need for the variance we found is primarily due to the unusual shape of the subject property. The parcel is a corner lot with an unusually long curved property line on one side that prevents the construction of a standard rectilinear shaped house that would be of the general standard construction. And this provides limitations on where a driveway or the primary entrance to the property can be located. There is a survey in your packet. There's also a proposed site plan in the packet. It shows the curved property and the resulting setbacks. I believe the setback shown on the rear setback on the drawing is shown incorrectly. It should be 25 feet, which would further limit the amount of buildable area on that lot. Staff has found, primarily due to the unusual shape of the property, that the request does meet the criteria for granting variances in the Land Development Code. We would note that the subject lot was created in 1957, which is prior to the purchase of the lot by the current owner. Based on these findings of fact, staff is recommending approval of the variance, the two variances, with the condition that it shall expire 2 years from the date of approval. And with that, I'll take your questions if you have any.
Anyone has any questions from the board? No questions from the board. Anybody wishes to speak from the floor, please?
Good evening. I'm going to wait just a minute while Mr. Cerna passes out exhibits that I wanted to refer to tonight. My name is Cindy Terrapini, and I represent the property owners, Sarah McSorley and Tom Kalouris. So the property owners purchased this property in July of 2019, when their goal was to build their first home on this lot. Specifically selected this corner lot so that they could have a design where the garage was on the side of the house rather than the front of their house. That was their desire. They initially planned to locate the garage on the north side and the front of the house on the west side, but they were told as they went through the development review process at the city that that driveway on the north side would be too close to West Bayshore as it curves around and hits regular Bayshore a little bit further east of the site. So they flipped the site, the house, on the lot, and now the front of the house is the north side, and as you can see, the garage is on the west side on West Bayshore. If you would turn to the first page, what I wanted to show you in this first page of the exhibit is the plat. And I know it's a little hard to read because it's small and it's old, but it was platted, as Mr. Cerna said, in 1957. The city approved it in June of 1957. The county approved it in July of 1957, and it was recorded in December of 1957. There are only 6 lots in this plat. And lot 6 is highlighted there in yellow. That's the site we're talking about today. So the site that you have before you today is the exact same lot, the entirety of Lot 6, as it was originally platted in 1957. There hasn't been anything cut off of it to make it smaller or anything like that. It is the exact lot as platted. So as you can clearly see the problem with this lot from a layout point of view, I think it's pretty obvious from the plat. There's a pretty sharp curve, and it's a long curve, as Mr. Cerna said, going around the top of the property on the north and then curving around to the west. Today, as engineers are platting corner lots, they make those corner lots wider exactly for that reason, exactly because most cities now have larger setbacks on any street side. But this was 1957, and so we're dealing the cards that we were dealt the way it was platted at that point in time. If you would turn to the second page, you can see that the house partially meets the setbacks. The area on the east side of the property, which I've highlighted in green, the front setback is 35 feet, where 25 is allowed, and the rear setback is 27 feet, where 25 is required. So on the east side, we're good. But the more that the house and the property go to the west, and as that lot curves, you can see on the west side, and I've highlighted that in pink, the front property line is only 23 feet to the house, in the rear it's 22 feet. And this also goes to your criteria about the minimum variance requested. It's right on those numbers. We don't have any flexibility there. So we're off by a total of 5 feet. And quite frankly, if it weren't curved and the lot were the same dimension on the west side as it is on the east, the 96 feet, we'd be good. We wouldn't even be here talking to you. But that's not the situation that we have. Clearly, it's the physical attributes of the site, that curve, that creates the problem and the difficulty with the setbacks. And I'd like to just go through kind of quickly the variance criteria, and then I'll be happy to answer your questions. As I mentioned, it's the shape of the lot on the west side with that curve that creates the problem because it narrows the dimension of the lot running north and south. And so we no longer have enough distance to get in 2 25-foot setbacks for a total of 50 and the length of the house. Clearly, these conditions of that lot, that shape of that lot, were not self-created. It was platted in 1957, as we've talked about, and the property owners own all of Lot 6. There was no part of Lot 6 that was cut off to make it smaller, so we have the lot as it was exactly platted. If the variance is not granted, it will deprive my property owners of having the house that they wish to build. A 5-foot difference in that house is significant, and it would be a significant redesign of that house. May require structural redesign. I'm not an engineer, but I clearly can see from the house plans that 5 feet is a significant change and will require a big change in the design of the house. The last criteria, or the fourth criteria, is that it will not grant any special privilege. We're not asking for a special privilege. We're asking to build on a vacant corner lot. Just like there's properties in the Bayshore Heights area, which you're very familiar with, to the south, we have the same zoning district, R100A. And we are it's a conforming lot as to size. It's just that one side, the west side, that the depth is not the required depth of 100 feet. And the variance will not diminish property values in the surrounding area. This house will be of the same and similar quality as the other new houses in the area, in the Bayshore Heights area immediately to the south of this site. So as I think I've presented, the site meets all the criteria of your code for variance, all 5 criteria. And also your staff has recommended approval because they recognize that it meets the criteria as well. I'd like to stop there, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. I think it's this kind of a, one of those cases where you look at the lot as it's platted and you go, wow, I see the problem. And they've tried to position the house as best they can on the property. They did a couple different run-throughs with the contractor to see if there's any way to get there, and there just isn't. So for the eastern portion of the property, we meet the setbacks, so we don't need this variance, but it's that one section on the west side where we do need some help. It's a total of a 5-foot setback, 2 feet on the north, 3 feet on the south. I don't think it would be recognizable to property owners as they drive by to they say, oh, that house is out of character with everything else that's been built. And we do respectfully request your approval of this variance. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, Mr. Eisner?
Is there any way to turn, just to turn this house, because it is not a 90-degree property. So is there any way to turn this to where you give up some of the 35?
The 35, again, is not the west side of the property, I mean, excuse me, the east side is not the problem. You can see we have plenty of, yeah, but, the problem is, it's just, once you get the 2 25-foot setbacks of 50 feet, the house is 45 feet long, so now we're at 90 feet. And on that western edge, no matter how you cut it, we don't have 90 feet in depth from north to south. However you angle the house, that western edge is still going to need the variance.
And wasn't, Ms. Terrapini, you had stated that the driveway, the city was having the driveway on the
North
west,
side? The city required, they originally were going to have the driveway on the north side, and then they have the house face to the west where the driveway is today.
Right.
And that was what the city said, no, that the driveway on the north side would be too close to what they call the corner. It's not really a corner, but there's that curve
Right.
in the road there. They said it would be too close to that and probably to the corner at Bayshore and West Bayshore, which.
So if the house was turned counterclockwise, which I believe Mr. Eisner was bringing up, then we run into the driveway issue again that the city already nixed.
Right, and there wasn't, I'm not aware that there's an ability to vary that. That's a safety kind of issue,
Makes
so,
sense.
yeah.
And you were, if I may, I had, gotta love someone who loves color like me, I had highlighted on mine in orange. It looks like the front setback is really that northwest tip of the house.
It is.
That's really the area that's affected, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
But there is a distance along there, I mean, we could get into, at some point as you go east from that northwest corner, at some point, we're gonna hit the 25 feet. But if any part of the house doesn't meet the 25,
Right.
then that's why,
And that is the tip that doesn't meet it, the rest is.
Yes, ma'am. And the same thing on the south side and the rear, the same issue. It's the corner edge that, again, doesn't meet it. As you go further east, at some point it will meet it, but, the city's rules better than I do, I'm sure. If there's any part of the house that doesn't meet the setback, it creates the need to come before this board.
Correct, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, the houses in the area, I know there's a new development in there, and those are nice-sized homes, but is it fit in with all of the other homes that are in the area as far as in square footage?
Sure, I can talk about a couple, they're different areas. To the east, along Old Bayshore Drive, which I would call it, those are older homes. They tend to be similar size. There are 100 and a 100A, depending on exactly where you are on Bayshore. Going on from this site south into Bayshore Heights, that entire subdivision is R100A, same zoning district as our property is, similar size lots, similar quality of homes, as you will see, those new homes and this new home. There is one new home under construction immediately east of my client's property that would be right at the corner of Bayshore and West Bayshore. Again, a similar size lot, similar quality of home. So yes, we believe that the house will fit in quite well. This is their first home. They obviously have a vested interest in making it a great home and a wonderful home. And they spent a lot of time figuring out a design that would fit with their lifestyle, and specifically that the garage on the side was really important to them as they were going through their design process with the contractor.
Well, why I also bring this up is because there are 5 other lots over there, and they all seem to be, except for number 1, with what I could see, 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 look smaller.
Lot 1 is under construction. There's a house under construction. It's owned by Mrs. Weiner, who I don't believe is here tonight. Lots 2 and 3 are owned by the same owner. There's one house on lots 2 and 3. That's to the east, southeast of this property. Lot 5 is still vacant and has not been sold. Lot 4 has been sold to a property owner. Lot 4 is actually the largest. It's about 10,000 square feet. Lot 5 is 9,500 square feet. Lot 6, the subject for tonight, is 9,500 square feet. It's not the lot size that's the issue, because the 7,000 square foot lot's what's allowed, minimum in the R100A. That's not the issue of the size at all. It's the depth, but purely on that western edge for that one section. That's the problem, is the depth of the property.
Did anybody bring up the jutting out that far would give any sort of problem to cars going around for blocking of view?
Well, it's gone through the review process with the city, and nobody has mentioned that, so I can't imagine that it would. Honestly, a 2-foot difference, I really don't think that would be noticeable for most people driving by generally, and I don't think it would be noticeable for drivers as they go by as well. If you think about it too, I'm not sure I'm answering your question, but it sounds like you'd be mostly concerned drivers going west and south. So they're going to be the furthest away from that house edge anyway, because they're on the far lane.
Right.
The cars coming up from the south, from the Bayshore Heights neighborhood, and then turning east, they're going to be the closest to it anyway, and there's no other lane to the east of them, so there's no conflict there. So, like I said, the city staff reviewed it. It's been through the building review process, and it's really pending this decision tonight for permitting. That's how close they are. The lot's been cleared. They're ready to go, depending on your decision tonight.
Any other questions? Anyone from the citizens would like to speak? Good evening, Mrs. Brothers.
Good evening, Board. Anita Protos, 901 Bayshore
Mike,
Drive. Those are my lots and my daughter's. And when the young couple came and wanted to purchase the lot, I told them I wasn't going to sell them because I like the woods around me. And my daughter, who lives in the Middle East, I called her and I told her, she says, "Oh, definitely sell it to Tommy." She said, "Definitely, because you're getting old, Mother, and he'll take care of you." I said, "Thank you."
I hold you to that.
And the lot is the prettiest lot of all of them. There's a gentleman further down next to the development that's building, and he had to get a variance because that was a smaller lot. It's all wooded, it's in my backyard, and I hope that you can grant it so he can build his house. Good people, and I need him there too. But they've been very cautious when they clean the lot. And the lady who's building behind them also, she's ill tonight, and she called and she says, "Anita, tell them I have no problem with what they need." She says, "It'll be good to have a strong young man there behind us because of our age." I said, "Thank you." So I hope you can say, because in the past, and when we did the rezoning in the 70s, I didn't include my property there. I know in the 60s. I told the city I just wanted to leave it as it was, because back then, you didn't have to get variances, you could do it. So that's what's happened as time goes on. But it's not gonna bother my property, it's not gonna bother my neighbor's property, and we would be happy to have him here, and I hope you can see to allow him to have it. And as far as the curve is concerned, there's plenty of view as you turn that curve, because it's such a long, long curve. And when they did the platting for the development there, they wanted that lot, the development, and I said, no, they said, because it's a beautiful lot, and it will not cause any trouble. And they did design the road, so they would have plenty of vision there as they would come around West Bay Shore.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions, anything for the staff? Okay. A motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve, and we have a second. Can you take a call, please? Roll.
Mr. Bolton?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Ms. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Eisner?
Yes.
Mr. Burris?
Yes. Motion is approved, thank you.
We're going to hold you to taking care of her.
Did you get that in writing? Get that in writing.
We have another application for variance, number 19-149.
Yes, this application is James Berthold, variance to reduce the minimum rear yard setback. The request is to reduce the rear yard setback from 20 feet to 17 feet, 3-foot variance for the addition of a covered deck of approximately 16 by 16 feet along the rear of an existing single-family residence. The property is located at 508 White Oak Drive. The property is zoned R70A. The required rear setback is 20 feet. As indicated, the applicant is requesting a rear setback of 17 feet. The need for the variance is primarily due to the irregular shape of the lot. It's narrower at the front end, and it widens towards the rear. The shape of that lot forces the buildable area of the house towards Klosterman Road, reducing the rear yard area of the lot. So that is primarily, based on our findings, that's the primary reason for the needed variance. We've reviewed this application for all of the variance criteria. We would note, those are in the packet, but we would note, again, this lot was created in 1978, prior to the purchase of the lot by the current owner. And therefore, it's not a self-created hardship, and it's not due to any action by the applicant. Based on our findings, staff is recommending approval of the variance with the condition that the variance shall expire 2 years from the date of approval. And I'd be glad to answer any of your questions.
Any questions from the board?
Anybody send in any comments or negative comments regarding this?
No, we've not had any correspondence in regard to this.
I have a question. This is for a deck,
It's for a, covered deck.
so is it considered permanent because it's attached to the home, or?
It will be permanent. It'll be part of, it's considered a structure because of the covering that's going over it.
It's green, it's not, but once they put a top on here.
And a question, and maybe this is something that is the applicant present? Maybe this might, I think you'd have to be sworn in.
Yes.
I think we're still in the staff question,
Oh,
so.
because I was just trying to get clarification on where, you know, we have the survey here of which part. I don't know if that's a staff question or,
Well, I mean, you can ask staff, but I think the chairman currently has staff questions. I mean, you can ask the applicant, but I think we're currently under the staff presentation
Okay.
question.
whoever the heck has an answer, I'm cool.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot, and then, we'll let the applicant go.
And
if
get
he's-
clarification
Staff
from the
first, and
applicant,
then
that's
we'll
cool.
clarify it.
Okay,
It's clear, it is in the package. It shows in red the area of the requested variance.
oh, I didn't print a copy.
It's a maximum of 3 feet, and it does narrow down, so it's just a slight variance there on one end of that proposed deck.
Okay, I gotcha. I didn't print in color, my apologies.
Anybody else has a question? I have a question. On the rendering that we have, the diagram that we have is 14.4 by 12 feet. Is that the right one that we're looking at? Adjacent to the pool?
Okay, that is, that survey that shows a condition before, that shows the existing deck, covered deck. This proposal is to, is to attach to that deck, lining up with the rear of that deck, approximately 16 by 16 foot addition. I don't have the exact dimensions of the addition, but it is for that. And as far as we know, that existing covering there is legal. And it's not a subject of this variance.
Okay. The two sheds, I understand, are gonna go? Only one shed?
Yeah, I believe one shed has been removed. So, and the pool is no longer there as well, so just from that survey, that pool is not there.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Having no other questions, can we entertain a motion, please?
Nope, we need to go to the
We
applicant.
need to ask him if he'd like to speak and swear.
If you'd
in.
like to speak on behalf of your application
We
or
have to
answer
swear
any
him in.
questions that they may have. Well, can you raise your right hand and then you can approach?
Stand up, please.
Sorry, we need to make a record. This is a legal proceeding, so. Understood. If you could
okay.
just raise your right hand. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And I think Chairman and I were kind of on the same line, looking at the older, and like I said, I didn't print in color. So just for a point of clarification, this pie-shaped piece here that is shaded in red, this is the area that would be out of the, that extends beyond what the current setback requires. So is it 3 feet narrowing down to
Exactly.
nothing?
Yep,
Gotcha.
exactly.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Having no other questions, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Unless you want to add anything else? That's it, okay, that's fine. Here we have a motion, please.
Nope, now we need to see if there's any members of the public wishing to speak either for or against the application.
Okay, anybody else?
Brisket want to speak?
Anybody else wants to speak? Well, nobody got sworn
All
in,
right.
that's why.
There we are.
Yeah,
Oh, we still need to ask.
okay, thank you. Can we have a motion, please?
I have a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Mr. Eisner to approve,
I second.
Joanne to second, thank you. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bolton?
Yes.
Ms. Rich?
Yes.
Ms. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Eisner?
Of course.
Mr. Burris?
Yes. Motion approved. You're all set? Have a good evening.
Checking.
Have a good holiday. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the minutes, approval of the minutes of the last board meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
No.
No, I won't.
Well, you can make a motion.
Oh, okay.
You can make a motion, and we'll see if somebody can second it or not second it, then there can be discussion, and then there can be an amended motion.
Right. Second motion, anyone?
Somebody wants to make an amending it?
Well, she made the motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll do a second.
Okay,
Okay,
so is there any
discussion?
discussion on?
Okay.
Yes. Yes, discussion. I had stopped by the office and let them know there was one thing that I let them know on page 3. It's noted on our minutes that Mr. Harabowski said yes, and he was not there. I was sitting in on his space, so it should be Ms. Rich. And then I did have one question on number 4, page 4. under this, we're dealing with the 100 Shore Drive, and under the staff, where it reads, subject to the following condition at the end of that paragraph, I believe, and I'm not sure if it needs to go in the minutes, but the main condition that was added to this one was to make sure that the same design was as submitted. And we had Mr. George, Chairman George, wanted to make sure that was there
exact-
so that people wouldn't, so I'm not sure if that's in the order that's, the legal document that's given, the name of that's
Motion?
after this.
It was part, is it part of the motion?
It
is what
was
Kim is-
part
no,
of the-
Kim's asking on this, are you asking if it was, yeah.
It was part of what we asked to be in the,
So if the
the
motion
the
was made,
motion that was made and the
Right,
condition
so what
was
Kim
put.
is saying is,
I remember she's correct as well, that was said.
What's that?
motion is it says to approve application 19-121 with the following condition, the proposed plan and design presented in the application material must be what is built.
Okay.
So it's
it
reflected in the
is.
minutes.
It is
I'm-
there on that part
Which
of it
page was
then.
that? I'm sorry.
Okay, I just saw
Five.
it on
There we go.
4 and didn't see, okay. So I think we're covered, but I know that was,
so item on number 3 only, change Mr. Haboski
Yeah.
to Ms. Rich. Bottom line, anything else, any other changes?
So Ms. Turner, would you like to amend your motion?
I would like to amend my motion to approve the minutes with the edit to page 3, where Mr. Urbowski is removed, replaced with Miss Rich.
I'm glad you knew you were here.
So,
The official
Mr.
minutes.
Eisner, you,
On it.
I will second that, yes, after my jokes.
I think Kim was,
I'm just trying.
The official minutes that I put in the envelope there, I made that change already.
oh, you already made the change? Okay, let's review that. Yes. So the minutes that have to be signed officially, they already have the change.
But I'll
Thank you.
still-
So we go back to the original motion.
and then you don't
It
need to.
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter at this point.
Okay, that's fine. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bolton?
Yes.
Ms. Rich?
Yes,
Ms. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Eisner?
Yes,
Burris?
Yes. Any staff comments, anything?
No comments.
Okay, any board comments?
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm happy to be serving with you guys and look forward to learning a lot. On the packets that come out, we received them by email with pretty much everything that was waiting for us here again tonight. Is there going to be duplicate packets for what's emailed to us? And then at the meeting, another packet? Okay, and then.
I
is-
always pick mine up.
Yeah.
They have them
we-
available for pickup
That was
a
going to be my
few
next
days
question.
before, so I don't print it out
How
at
early
the
can
printer.
we,
Usually
does an
Friday.
email go out telling us that they're available to be picked up?
They're
Yes.
generally
that's-
available.
before.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify a way of
Yeah,
work.
because I don't print them out, I just come and pick them up.
Okay.
You don't have to use your card to get here to pick them up either. You can just walk diagonally across the street.
Thanks for announcing that.
I send family members on I send my runners to go pick them up.
I didn't say which corner.
Any other comments?
Welcome to our newest member.
Welcome to our
Thank you.
newest member.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, so we stand adjourned?
No speech from him?
For me, I said I'm happy to be here and looking forward to learning a
Be
lot.
shy.
And for
Maybe
those that
give a
have
whole
served on other
speech.
boards with me, they'll know that I have no problem
This is old
speaking my
hat.
mind.
He's a good addition to this board.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's gracious.
We are adjourned. We stand-
Did we do a motion? Do we have to do all that nonsense?
Yeah, we approve the minutes. That was it. Motion to adjourn?
Spoke enough.
I mean, I don't really have any voting power, but I'm happy to.
Peace out.
But for sure, you'd have it done at 30 minutes. You were running into the 35.
No, it's perfect.
35 minutes.
I'll be very happy if this is how.
I've been able to pick up this
I'm used to
Yeah,
board
no.
being much longer.
No,
I'm blind.
it just depends.
Right, I never came. So what I do. Good job, very good.
I'm very happy
I
to be here.
will, I will